Okay, let's dive straight into a classic, a real head scratcher. Bruce Lee versus Mike Tyson, both in their absolute prime.
Ah, the ultimate what if.
Exactly. And forget the usual rules for a sec. No gloves, no octagon necessarily. This is really about two just fundamentally different ways of fighting colliding, isn't it?
It really is. And that's what makes it so fascinating. You've got Bruce Lee, this martial arts pioneer, the Jeet Kune guy.
Totally revolutionized things.
Right. And then you got Mike Tyson, just raw, explosive boxing power, the definition of heavyweight dominance back then.
Yeah.
Two absolute legends, but worlds apart in their skills.
So let's paint the picture. Imagine this. 1973, Las Vegas. Maybe the MGM Grand Garden Arena. The air's just electric.
Okay, I'm there.
No gloves, no weight classes, just raw. Lee's about 30, maybe 135 pounds pure speed.
Like lightning.
And Tyson, he's only 21, but he's already this terrifying, like, 220-pound force of nature.
Yeah, a Mack truck with fists.
So the big question, the one we're really digging into today, is who actually wins that fight in that specific scenario?
Right. Let's break down the physical stuff first. Lee, okay, yeah, he's given up a lot of weight, like 85 pounds.
Massive difference.
Huge. But his speed was, well, almost inhuman. People clocked his reaction time at like 0.1 second.
Faster than you can blink, literally.
And a punch in 500ths of a second. I mean, it's hard to even comprehend. Plus, legendary endurance. The guy ran 6 miles daily, sparred for hours. He was just tuned.
A total human weapon. You see those old films and the speed is just, wow.
Then you flip the coin, Tyson. Forget finesse. It's about pure, devastating power and durability. That 20-inch neck wasn't just for show.
Like a built-in shock absorber.
Exactly. He could take a shot. And when he landed, estimates put his right hook at over 1,800 pounds of force.
Good Lord, that's like getting hit by a small car.
Pretty much. And, 44 knockouts and 50 wins. That tells the story right there. He was built to destroy.
So it really is that classic speed versus power amplified like crazy. Lee has to be evasive, right? He can't get hit clean.
Absolutely not. His whole game plan relies on staying outside, using speed, not getting caught. Tyson just needs to land one solid shot.
But can Lee's shots, even with that speed, actually hurt Tyson? A guy used to getting hit by heavyweights. That's a big question.
It is. Stopping power is a real issue for Lee here. But then again, can Tyson reliably land on someone that fast and elusive? That 85-pound difference cuts both ways.
Okay, so physicality is a wash, almost. Depends who imposes their game. What about their actual fighting styles? This is where it gets really interesting.
Totally. Lee's Jeet Kune it wasn't a style, really. It was a philosophy. Adaptability, efficiency, intercepting attacks.
Be like water, right.
Exactly. He pulled from everything Wing Chun for close range, trapping,
Those rapid-fire hand movements, yeah.
boxing footwork, fencing agility,
Yeah.
all kinds of kicks, side kicks, low kicks, spinning kicks. He had a massive toolbox.
So against Tyson, you could see him using those low kicks, right? Chop at the legs, disrupt the balance.
That seems like the obvious strategy. Keep moving. Attack the base. JKD is all about finding the most direct, effective tool for the moment. Intercepting Tyson's rushes could be key.
But Tyson's style, that peekaboo defense Customato taught him, was designed specifically to deal with opponents trying to stay away, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It was a science. High guard, constant head movement, bobbing, weaving, making him incredibly hard to hit cleanly.
Flipping punches, getting inside.
Right, and then unleashing those brutal hooks and uppercuts once he got close. His footwork was actually pretty slick too, cutting off the ring.
Yeah, people forget that. He wasn't just stationary power. He could move to trap you.
And we saw later, fighters who could keep him at range, who had good footwork and a long jab, did give him trouble. Think Lennox Lewis.
So Tyson's goal against Lee is clear. Corner him, don't let him dance.
Pin him down, take away the space, and land the bomb. It's a clash of ranges, really.
Lee needs distance. Tyson needs proximity. Lee's kicks are the wild card, something Tyson never faced in a ring.
A huge wild card. But can Lee get those kicks off consistently without getting countered or having Tyson slip inside? Tyson's head movement and guard were so good.
Landing clean would be tough. So it really might come down to who dictates the distance. Can Lee stay outside and work? Or does Tyson eventually close that gap?
And that leads us nicely into the mental side of things, because their approaches were, again, just polar opposites.
Right. Lee was the philosopher warrior, deeply into Taoism, Lao Tzu, all about calmness under pressure.
Yeah, you read his stuff, the Tao of Jeet Kune. It's all about mental clarity, focus, flowing with the chaos, not fighting against it, daily meditation.
And people who sparred with him said he was incredibly composed, almost serene, even when things got intense, great at reading opponents.
That kind of mental discipline could be huge against Tyson, weathering the storm, waiting for mistakes born out of frustration.
But then you've got Tyson, the absolute master of psychological warfare.
Oh yeah, pure intimidation, that pre-fight stare. Remember what he did to Frank Bruno? Just terrifying.
Melted guys before the bell.
Yeah.
The trash talk, the aura of just like barely contained violence.
Even the unpredictable stuff, like the Holyfield ear bite later on,
Right.
it was all part of creating fear, unsettling the opponent. He'd absolutely try that on Lee.
So can Lee's Zen focus withstand that kind of raw intimidation? There's that semi-legendary fight he had with Wang Jackman back in '67.
Right, the details are murky, debated even, but the account suggests it was a long, tough fight, and Lee showed resilience. He didn't crumble.
And Tyson, for all his intimidation, did have moments where he seemed to crack mentally, didn't he? The Buster Douglas fight is the obvious one.
Absolutely. Under sustained pressure, or when things didn't go his way immediately, he could unravel. So if Lee can stay detached, stay focused, maybe he exploits that.
But you just can't discount the sheer ferocity Tyson brought. It could overwhelm anyone, no matter how focused.
True. It's a fascinating mental clash. Discipline versus raw aggression.
Okay, let's get specific. Let's play this out. 1973, Vegas, MGM Grand, packed house, no gloves, fight to the finish, ding ding. What happens in those first few moments?
Okay, opening bell. I see Lee immediately using that incredible footwork. Constant motion, circling, staying light. Probably firing off those super fast low kicks to Tyson's lead leg.
Testing the waters, right. Gauging reaction, maybe slowing that forward march just a tiny bit.
Exactly. Probing. Meanwhile, Tyson's in that classic peekaboo, stalking forward, head moving, eyes locked on Lee. He's looking to cut off the ring, close that distance.
We might see Tyson throw a huge wild hook early on, right? Trying to end it quick.
Definitely. And Lee just darts out of the way. Maybe Lee zips back in with a flurry of punches, boom, boom, boom to the body. Super fast.
But probably not doing much damage yet, realistically, against Tyson's frame.
Likely not much immediate effect, no. More about scoring points, keeping Tyson thinking, maintaining distance.
Okay, so we move into the mid-fight. How does it evolve?
Tyson starts adapting. That head movement gets even more pronounced. He gets better at anticipating Lee's rhythm, maybe slips a few more strikes. He keeps pressing, relentlessly trying to cut off Lee's escape roads.
And maybe he connects with something glancing, gets Lee against the ropes for a second.
Could happen. Tyson herds him, unleashes a short burst hooks, maybe an uppercut. Lee might take one on the shoulder or arm, just enough to feel that raw power.
But Lee wouldn't stay there, would he? He'd explode out.
Right. Maybe uses a sharp spinning back kick to create space again, lands it to the body. Tyson grunts, absorbs it, keeps coming. But all that movement, Lee might start to fatigue a bit. Constant motion is tiring.
So the climax, things are getting tense. Lee knows he needs to do more damage, maybe.
Yeah, maybe he really starts focusing those low kicks now, targeting the knees, the thighs, trying to seriously compromise Tyson's base and mobility.
And Tyson might be getting frustrated now. His shots aren't landing clean. Lee keeps stinging him with those kicks.
Exactly. Frustration leads to sloppiness. Maybe Tyson overcommits on a punch. Lee sees the opening, uses his Wing Chun trapping, grabs an arm.
And lands a sharp elbow.
A quick elbow to the jaw or temple. Tyson staggers. He's hurt, maybe disoriented for a second. But his chin is legendary, right? He probably doesn't go down.
So what does Tyson do? Instinctively clinches, grabs hold.
That feels right. Use his size and strength advantage. This is dangerous for Lee. Tyson could land a short, brutal uppercut inside that clinch. Snaps Lee's head back.
Wow. So the ending, if it feels like it could go two ways from there, right?
Absolutely. Scenario 1. Lee somehow manages to break that clinch, uses his agility to get back outside. He reestablishes distance and just keeps chipping away. Those leg kicks eventually take their toll. Tyson's mobility degrades, and Lee overwhelms him with counters until Tyson just can't continue. Maybe a referee stoppage.
Okay, that's one path. Scenario 2.
Scenario 2. Tyson lands clean, either in that clinch or maybe catches Lee coming in or moving out. Just one perfectly placed power shot without gloves. And that's likely lights out for Lee. The power difference is just too immense.
It's such a knife edge. You mentioned Lee sparred bigger guys, like Joe Louis, the kickboxer. Does that help his case?
It gives some context, yeah. He had experience dealing with size and power when kicks were involved. But Tyson's pure boxing power and pressure is a different beast.
And Tyson's losses often came against guys who stayed disciplined, used range, kind of like Lee's likely strategy.
Exactly. Fighters who didn't get drawn into a brawl. So there are arguments both ways. based on their histories.
What about the rules? How much do they change things? You mentioned no gloves, but what if it was strictly boxing?
Oh, boxing rules, that swings it heavily towards Tyson. His entire game, his defense, his power delivery, it's all optimized for boxing gloves and rules. Lee wouldn't have the same impact or defense in that world.
Okay, so Tyson by KO in boxing. What about like a no-rules street fight?
That, I think, swings it back towards Lee. His wider range of tools, kicks, elbows, knees, maybe even eye pokes or groin strikes, if it's truly no rules, gives him more options against a pure boxer.
And a 70s style MMA fight? Maybe in a cage.
That's fascinating, a real toss-up.
Ugh.
Lee's adaptability is huge, but Tyson's clinch strength and potential ground and pound, even with limited grappling rules back then, could be devastating.
Even the space matters, right? A small ring helps Tyson corner him.
Definitely. Tight space favors Tyson's pressure game. Remember how dominant he was in those standard 80s rings?
Yeah, and Lee always looked best in demonstrations with lots of room to move.
Exactly. Open space lets Lee use his footwork to maximum effect, so the environment itself is a huge variable.
Okay, imagine they get a 6-month training camp, knowing exactly who they're fighting. How does that change things?
Well, Lee, being the martial arts scientist he was, would immerse himself in boxing defense. He'd grill those leg kicks nonstop, study Tyson's movements.
Maybe work with boxers to prep. Adapt his JKD specifically for Tyson.
Absolutely. We saw him adapt with guys like Chuck Norris. He might even try to bulk up slightly, maybe hit 145 pounds or so, if he could do it without losing too much speed.
And Tyson's camp, what are they drilling?
Head movement, head movement, head movement, but specifically against kicks, which is new. Practicing cutting off the ring against someone incredibly fast. Lots of clinch work.
Studying Lee's movies, maybe? The Way of the Dragon?
For sure. Trying to decode those movements, anticipate the angles. But honestly, I think Lee's inherent adaptability gives him a slight edge in preparation.
Because JKD is about adapting.
Exactly. He's maybe better equipped mentally and philosophically to devise a truly unique strategy for an unusual opponent compared to Tyson adapting a more established boxing framework.
It's just amazing how much impact both these guys had beyond just fighting Lee, gone too soon in '73, but he's still this massive cultural icon.
Totally. Broke barriers for Asian actors, brought martial arts to the global mainstream. His philosophy still resonates.
And Tyson, even with all the controversies, he redefined that heavyweight bad boy image in the late '80s. That era was all about his knockouts. He's still doing exhibitions now.
He really shaped modern boxing's focus on explosive power. A fight between them back then.
Wow.
It would have been more than just a fight. East versus West, speed versus power, discipline versus chaos.
Culturally huge. And you see Lee's influence everywhere in MMA, right? The UFC boom kind of proved his ideas about mixing styles.
Absolutely. His fingerprints are all over modern combat sports, while Tyson cemented that knockout-centric boxing appeal. Two massive, distinct legacies.
Okay, so we've gone through everything. Physical tools, styles, mentality, the fight itself, rules, training, legacy. The final verdict. After all this talk, who takes it in that 1973 no-gloves Vegas showdown?
All right, crunch time. Weighing it all up, particularly in that mixed rules, no-gloves setting. Lee's speed, his kicks, his ability to control distance. That's a puzzle Tyson never really faced.
The kicks are the key difference maker.
I think they are the biggest X factor. Tyson's power is always there, the ultimate threat. But landing it consistently on that target without gloves against someone constantly attacking his legs and potentially intercepting his rushes, it's a huge ask.
So, the final call. Hypothetically speaking, of course.
Hypothetically. In that specific no-holds-barred scenario, I lean towards Bruce Lee. Probably not a clean KO, but maybe a win via stoppage. The accumulation of damage, especially from low kicks, frustrating Tyson, leading to openings Lee exploits until Tyson can't effectively continue.
But if it were strictly boxing rules...
Oh, then it flips. Mike Tyson by KO. Lee just doesn't have the gloved punching power or the specific boxing defense to survive Tyson's onslaught in that context.
And we have to stress, right, this is all fun conjecture, educated guessing based on what we know. There's no real answer.
Absolutely not. And that's the beauty of it. It lets us appreciate just how unique both Lee and Tyson were. What incredible different kinds of athletes and fighters they represented.
It really does. A great way to appreciate their skills and legacies. And maybe it gets you thinking about other impossible matchups too.
Definitely. It forces you to break down skills, styles, mental fortitude, all the things that make someone truly great.
Well, that wraps up this deep dive. It's a good reminder that exploring these what-ifs can actually teach us a lot about different kinds of excellence.
And it leaves you with that question, doesn't it? What really makes a legend? Is it just the wins? the power, or is it something more, the innovation, the impact, the way they change the game? Something to ponder.